It's time for the Sports Blitz, the only live-streamed local sports show in Arkansas, with all the latest on the sports stories that matter to you.
Welcome in to the Sports Blitz on a Monday. Mark Freeman, Weldon Braxton, Maddie Lassiter in the Cogswell Motors studios. We're down to 16 teams in the NCAA tournament. What a weekend it was in college basketball. I don't know if you're like me and you had a hard time peeling yourself away from the TV, but if you sat there and you watched Weldon, we were rewarded with some great basketball.
Well, you are absolutely right on the money, Mark. We saw some great basketball, some mild upsets. We saw some teams go down for various reasons. We saw some controversy. You know, you can never have an NCAA tournament without some controversy, either the clock or a timeout or something where the officials have to run and hide from cover. This situation, what we had this week, was no different, although I felt like in the North Carolina-Iowa State game, ultimately the right call was made. I know it's a tough break for North Carolina. Technically, they did call timeout with time on the clock that was displayed, but realistically, there's no way they could have advanced the ball to the point they did in the time that was shown. So that was a controversial ending. We got to see the Florida Gators, you and I, our national championship pick. They got by Pittsburgh. They're in the Sweet 16. How about the SEC? Undefeated. They've got 3 teams in the Sweet 16, the much maligned conference. I look forward to talking about that because I think there's a few things at play as far as that's concerned. So we'll look at that. Arkansas Razorback basketball back in action tonight. It's been a little bit of a break since the Indiana State victory, but the Hogs are out in Berkeley to take on the Cal Golden Bears tonight at 10 o'clock. So get your coffee pots ready and be ready to be up for after midnight because that's when the Hogs will probably be getting done.
I'll tell you what I'll be doing about midnight. I'll be sleeping, man. There's no way I'm staying up for that whole game. I may catch the first half, but you'll have to tell me. I'll be checking first thing in the morning, following on Twitter to see if Arkansas won.
You'd be like, come on. It happened again. That's going to be your morning reaction. Like, oh, gosh.
Yeah, well, the last time I went to bed at halftime of a Hogs game, it worked out pretty well.
Good things happened, yeah.
94 national championship in Arkansas. I mean, it's my mom's fault. Made me go to bed, punk. And then the Hogs win the national championship. I still haven't forgiven her.
Wow.
But the success of the SEC, 7-0 right now in the SEC or in the NCAA tournament. Maddie came up with this question before the show, and I'll give him no credit. I'll act like I did it myself. Does the success of the SEC in the NCAA tournament give you hope for Arkansas next year? We're going to talk about the Hogs in California. We're going to talk about this question today. But today's CrossFit Russellville poll question, man, I don't know if you've seen, but all the one-and-dones pretty much are gone except for Kentucky in the NCAA tournament. You've got Andrew Wiggins, and, of course, Joel Embiid was hurt, so he wasn't able to play but in the last game. But Kansas one-and-dones are gone. They're out. They got beat. And then, help me out here with some more of the ones that are one-and-done that are gone. Who else?
You've nailed
Syracuse has got a couple of them.
Yeah,
like that. Ennis is going to be gone. See if there's anybody else.
Gordon's still playing, but
yeah.
He's kind of more of a back burner to me compared to those other guys. But I think
Jabari Parker gone.
Jabari Parker. I think the conversation, Mark, and you're hearing it go on all day. What's going on with these top freshmen in terms of Andrew Wiggins? Some even put him up there with the LeBron James coming out of high school. He disappeared 4 points, only took 6 shots, and that's really my problem with him. And we'll get into that a little bit later. Jabari Parker, in terms of if you're an NBA team, how does this affect you? You understand that they're young prospects, so you understand they're going to get better. But at the same time, you are investing a whole lot. When you have a top draft pick, you are pretty much setting the direction of your franchise for the next few years plus. And so I think if you're an NBA top pick team, you kind of have some cause to pause this morning. I really think so. Joel Embiid, he didn't play because of a back injury, which brings up another issue if you're an NBA team. Some people have compared him to Akeem Olajuwon. I see those comparisons. I'm not too mad about it. But with a back injury, do we need to go down the road of a big man coming in the league with injury issues? We don't need to go down that road again. We know how that is. So I think that's what we're looking at with these freshmen.
So it leads us to the question, who's the best player left in the NCAA tournament? That's our CrossFit Russellville poll question. Who is the best player left in the NCAA tournament? We've got 16 teams remaining. Since we were last on the air Friday, we didn't get to tell you about some of the great upsets and great things that happened for our brackets on Friday afternoon. Stephen F. Austin, 12 seed, beats VCU. Crazy end of that game as Stephen F. has to hit a 3 and get fouled, hit a 4-point play to tie the game, and go ahead and win that one against VCU. Just a wild end of that game.
That sucked. I mean, I picked Stephen F. Austin,
I did too.
So obviously I'm glad they won for my bracket. But if you're a Virginia Commonwealth, oh my Lord, you fouled a jump shooter. I mean, look, I was mad on Thursday when the Ohio State player fouled the Dayton shooter. Yep. That was bad enough. But the Virginia Commonwealth player, that was a whole new level because I had given up on the game. I said, Shaka, turn the heat on, force some turnovers, it's over. And this was about a minute and a half to go. I had given up on it. I turned back on that channel thinking I'm going to see Charles and Ernie breaking down why Stephen F. Austin lost. I see overtime going on. I'm like, what? And then I see the replay of how it happened. Wow. You lose. So essentially you get forced into overtime on a 4-point play. That is unheard of.
I tweeted on Friday that I guess maybe it was Thursday afternoon. I tweet it as often as it happens, but why do you foul a jump shooter? That's the dumbest thing in basketball to me. It's just like our coach always used to say, you step on the 3-point line, that's the worst shot in basketball. Like fouling a jump shooter to me is the worst thing you can do in basketball because, for one, you didn't guard him well enough for him to not think he was open to shoot. So, obviously you weren't playing good enough defense in the first place or he wouldn't have shot it. And then you compound that mistake by fouling him. Well, I understand contesting, but, you go into somebody, you're going into somebody.
And you know how it usually happens, Mark. You're right. It does start with bad defense because if you're guarding the way you're supposed to, you're in position to contest properly. You're under control. But normally, how does it happen? When you're running out crazily at a shooter because you were out of position initially. That's what happened. That is a tough way to lose. Shaka Smart, a very good coach, Mark. You and I talked a little bit about what his future may hold. He's been a guy who he's turned down some really good jobs. He's turned down some opportunities. But you wonder if he's getting frustrated now. You wonder if he's taken VCU and he's maxed out with him. You and I were talking about this.
He's got to go somewhere else.
You would think so because, like I said, I brought up Chris Peterson and Brad Stevens, great examples because when Brad Stevens was going to Final Fours, he was turning jobs down. It wasn't until they were losing to Marquette and other people in the first round where he's like, you know what, it's time. And then you look at Chris Peterson, turned down jobs for several years, a couple of Las Vegas Bowl appearances, 9-3 seasons. It's like, you know what? It's time. And I wonder for Shaka if he determines if it's time. Does he look at a Marquette? He's had better opportunities than Marquette, but is the timing going to be right for this move?
I'm looking here at ESPN and Twitter, and a lot of folks saying that Marquette's looking at Ben Howland, former UCLA coach, led them to a few Final Fours there. So, yeah, I don't know. We'll see if that's where Marquette ends up going. So that's an interesting development there. Looking at our brackets, though, Weldon and I both doing pretty well. Matty, he's in pretty tough shape here. He's got Gonzaga in the national championship game. They got beat by 20 last night by Arizona. So we've got 7 of our 8 Elite 8 teams left. He's got Syracuse gone. You've got...
Yeah, you're right. You got Kansas.
Then you've got 6 of your 8 left because you got Syracuse and Villanova.
Yeah.
And I've got 7 of my 8 because I've got Kansas gone. So both of us screwed up the Kansas-Syracuse bracket there. But who had Dayton and Stanford in the Sweet 16? Not anybody I know. So
no, and the thing with that, the bottom part of that South, which is the Kansas-Syracuse area, is you had a feeling something crazy could happen because Syracuse's offense has been terrible all year, and Kansas has been overrated to me. They have good players, but they have horrible lead guard play. They have some guys who can score, but not a Chalmers or a Sharon Collins like we've seen from years past. So I didn't think they would get beat early, but it doesn't really knock us off the floor. At least doesn't knock me off the floor, the fact that they did get knocked off. Unfortunately, we didn't have a crystal ball to pick exactly how it would go down.
Well, I was kind of hoping that Kansas could make it past Stanford because they could conceivably get Joel Embiid back. But the more I looked at it, the more I heard what they were saying, the more I thought Embiid's not going to play. Even if even if they did get to the second weekend, they were going to make teams prepare for him, but he wasn't ever going to play. That's just kind of where I was going with that. So when I was kind of happy when Syracuse lost because I figured Syracuse would beat Kansas in the next round if they got there. So that was a good break for me, I guess, as far as this bracket goes. Of course, it doesn't really matter. I can't win the bracket pool anyway. I'm going to have a chance at the Sports Blitz production and talent team bracket pool championship.
All three of us, huh?
But that's about it. We've got our Final Four. We've got the same Final Four, and got our champion left. But got a couple of teams. For some reason, on my ESPN bracket, I had a couple picks that weren't like this one that I'd left, and I meant to go back and fix.
Yeah,
like Duke and Colorado. Yeah, like I went back and picked Duke to lose in this bracket, and I had them winning. In the other
lose to Mercer?
No.
Oh.
To Michigan.
Yeah.
Of course, I mean, that's still a game out, but in the ESPN bracket, I have them winning. So,
well, see, that's the
all
thing.
the way to the Elite Eight.
Like, I chose my bracket differently than I normally do. I went a little more conservative this year. Usually I'm pretty out there. I'm either going to finish first or last. That's usually my bracket philosophy. But this year, I did sort of hedge a little bit. When it came to Duke and Michigan, the only reason I really picked Michigan was because I knew for sure they would get to that point. I was telling you, I was leery about Mercer. I've been saying that all week, and I didn't really think Tennessee would beat Duke, but they could pound them on the glass. I really wasn't sure Duke would get out there, so that's why I picked Michigan over Duke, and so I did save a few points there.
Here in this bracket, I've got Michigan, and that's what I thought the whole time, but I guess I went stupid for a second and picked Duke.
No.
We're burying the lead, though, because the best game of the day, in my opinion, was Kentucky Wichita State. Kentucky beats Wichita State. Of all of us, we all had it picked, but it was sort of an upset. Kentucky, the 8 seed, Wichita State, undefeated, 35-0, a 1 seed out there and in the Midwest. And man, it was a great game. Wichita State played their guts out and shot. I think it was 50-some%, hit 10 threes, and still lost. Kentucky played outside their minds, good, and I don't want to take anything away from Wichita State, even though we all thought they were a little bit overrated. They played a heck of a game yesterday, and Kentucky just played one better. And it just looks like all that talent finally coming together. It's like they decided, all right, we're that good. We can just flip the switch when we want to, get all the way to the SEC championship game in the tournament, and then go all the way as past a 1 seed in the NCAA tournament. And Louisville better look out.
It's about time. Look, I'm with you on Wichita. Look, I thought they were a little overrated. They did play well. They've got some nice players. They play well together. But ultimately, if Kentucky plays like Kentucky needs to be playing, if those twins finally come online, they had 39 combined points, combined with the rest of the things they have, they need to be winning that game against Wichita State, and it's about time they look like Kentucky. You're right. Louisville needs to be careful. Look, Kentucky's a better team. They have better players in Louisville. There's no question about it. The thing with Kentucky is, can they handle what Louisville's going to be doing defensively? Can they handle what Louisville's experience is going to be bringing to the table? We talk about Russ Smith, but let's not forget they got the reigning tournament MVP and Luke Hancock back on this roster as well as some guys, Martrez Harrell, playing really well. You look at Van Treese, even though he's in there elbowing people using his fouls, he's still a guy with experience. So it's going to be a fun game. Kentucky has better players. Kentucky won the earlier matchup, but Louisville, Coach Pitino, in a tournament, it's hard to pick against.
Yeah, watching Kentucky play last night, I can see two different things working themselves out in this game. I can see Kentucky, we know what a war is like, because 78-76 against Wichita State, Clee Anthony early 31 points, and just a back and forth, nobody letting up, nobody playing. It wasn't big mistakes that were made, it was just big plays that were made by Kentucky. I can see that working for them. I know they got several days to recover, or I can see that working against them where, coming against Louisville, and you're going to get full court defense, blistered all over the place, breakneck pace. Can they do this 2 games in a row? The talent, obviously, like you said, Kentucky's got more talent than anybody in the tournament, just as far as NBA players go. But whether or not they can do that in back-to-back games remains to be seen.
Kentucky just can't turn the ball over because right now Louisville's half-court offense is suspect at best. St. Louis, we know how St. Louis plays. Once St. Louis quit turning the ball over and they actually got Louisville in a half-court game, they had the advantage. They were outplaying Louisville. It's just they turned it over too much. Louisville hit a few shots. But if you make Louisville actually beat you in the half court, not give them easy baskets, Louisville struggles a little bit. Not quite the same team from last year. I mean, obviously you're missing a few guys, Peyton Siva and Jing, and Shane Mahoney, he was put off the team. So not quite the same Louisville team.
No, it all kind of depends on how Russ Smith plays. Russ Dickulous. If he can play up to the potential and up to what he's done. In the tournament, in their conference tournament, he had 41 one day or 42, something like that. It just went crazy. If he goes crazy, all bets are off as far as their offense goes. But 66 points, that's not going to get it done against Kentucky.
No, and Kentucky's a team, to me, they're interesting because they can play a couple of different styles. They've shown the ability to play a slower half-court game. And the Florida game was in the low 60s, and they've played a lot of grinded-out games, but they also have the athletes and the talent to play up and down, get in the high 70s and 80s, too. I think that'll serve them well.
We got to hit a break. I asked today's CrossFit Russellville poll question, who's the best player left in the NCAA tournament? Clarksville basketball coach Tony Davis said Fred Hoiberg. I didn't ask who the best dancer was left in the NCAA.
The mayor.
The mayor, man. He was an NBA great, but I say great. He was pretty good.
Yeah, he was in the NBA.
He's doing a pretty good job there at Iowa State, coaching them up. We've got plenty more NCAA talk. We're going to get to the Hogs right after this break.
Hi folks, Richard Roberts with Cogswell Motors in Russellville. We've been in business since 1949. A dealership doesn't stay in business that long under the same ownership unless you're doing something right, and that's taking care of customers. We have the largest selection of new Ford, Lincoln, Mazda, and pre-owned vehicles in the River Valley. So if you want the most for your trade, the best interest rate on financing, and the best price on a new or pre-owned automobile, come to Russellville and see us. We're at 1900 East Main, or visit us on the web at cogswellmotors.com.
If you didn't count on KARK4 today this morning,
here's what you missed.
Updated news.
Police continue searching for suspects after a home intrusion overnight.
Developing stories.
There's another piece of presidential history turning up here in Arkansas.
And weather and traffic on the force.
Friday night, Saturday morning will bring us our next chance rain.
Every 10 minutes.
Around the clock.
Making your day easier.
So rise and shine and count on.
Count on.
Count on. KARK4 today.
RiverValleyLeader.com is the #1 local source for instant news in the River Valley, offering HD video and live streaming along with top-notch coverage of all the news and events around the area. The River Valley Leader is the only place to go for all the information you need. Check out the newest local business featured on the site, as well as police news and coverage from important meetings, along with the personal stories, all at one convenient click. Check out RiverValleyLeader.com.
Today, there are more than 20 brands of cars being sold in America. So to be noticed, Ford and Cogswell Motors have to go further than anyone thought we could. How does Ford stand out above the crowd? Not just with plug-in vehicles like the new 2013 Ford Fusion Energy that gets a projected 100 miles per gallon equivalent, but also with a line of gas vehicles equipped with the innovative EcoBoost engines combining power and efficiency, plus a full measure of technologically advanced features. We invite you to stop into Cogswell Motors today. We go further than anyone thought we could, so that you can go further too.
Hogs Cal, 10 o'clock tip tonight. We'll get to the NIT here in just a little bit, and the question about whether the SEC's success, sitting at 7-0 right now in the NCAA tournament, if that gives you any more hope for Arkansas next year. Will the Razorbacks make the NCAA tournament? Will they make some noise? What'll happen with them? We'll ask that question here in a little bit. But today's CrossFit Russellville poll question deals with the NCAA tournament, and something we alluded to a little earlier, and it's that pretty much the great one and dones that everybody's talking about, the Andrew Wiggins, Jabari Parker, and those guys, Joel Embiid, they're gone. And the narrative yesterday before the Kentucky-Wichita State game ended was the talented team full of seniors and upperclassmen beats the freshmen every time, and then Kentucky happened. So too much talent in that team to be denied. But we asked today, who's the best player? It's our CrossFit Russellville poll question. Who's the best player left in the NCAA tournament? I've got a list here of some names, and I think we'll agree on a lot of these. You may be able to throw in some extra ones. But I've got Scotty Wilbekin. To me, he came to mind immediately. DeAndre Kane from Iowa State.
Big Daddy Kane.
Scotty Wilbekin from Florida. Kane from Iowa State. Julius Randle from Kentucky. He's a beast. He had more double-doubles this year than anybody in the country. I saw that during the game. I liked what I saw from Adrian Payne from Michigan State in game one. Second game, he didn't have quite as good a game. Nick Johnson from Arizona, very, very, very good. And Nick Stauskas from Michigan, all very, very good players. I'd be hard-pressed to pick one. We were talking about how we would qualify this before the show, and you said somebody that you would trust in this moment. Scotty Wilbekin's the name that immediately came to mind for me.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Wilbekin's certainly one of the guys. I mean, that's a good list. You've pretty much hit the names on the head. I'd probably add Shabazz Napier a little bit just because he's a straw that stirs that drink. I don't really feel like UConn is all that great of a team, but certainly when he's making big shots and playing big time, you have to acknowledge that too. But did you make your pick, or you just list guys?
I just went with Wilbekin.
I'm gonna go with you. I'm gonna go with Scotty Wilbekin. Look, here's a guy who Florida can sometimes get a little dense on offense, especially when the inside game's not going, when Frazier's not hitting his threes. They can kind of go a little bit stale because they don't have that isolation, big-time wing player that can just go get his anytime. Wilbekin has sort of supplemented that because what he can do on pick and roll, because what he can do in the mid-range. He runs that team. And this time of year, I know we say it all the time, but you need somebody that can flat-out run a basketball team. I got to give him the credit. You mentioned Stauskas, though. I'm a big Stauskas fan. I think people don't realize the guy's 6'6". We think of him one of these short 6'2", 6'3" type shooters. He's got some length to him. He can get his shot off over a lot of people. I got to give Xavier Thames from San Diego State some credit. You want to talk about a bad offensive team. You haven't seen bad offense until you've watched San Diego State. That guy is like single-handedly putting them in the Sweet 16. Like if they could just play defense, they might be national champions. But unfortunately, you got to play offense too, and they have none whatsoever. But Xavier Thames is a guy for San Diego State who is making it happen. North Dakota State upset Oklahoma, tried to upset San Diego State. He was the guy that made big shots to help him pull away.
And we've left out several big names. I mean, we mentioned Luke Hancock, the national player, or most outstanding player of the national championship game and Final Four last year. Russ Smith, who is a very, very talented NBA type player at some point. Haven't talked about Jarnell Stokes from Tennessee, who he had 18 rebounds yesterday, the other day, and Mercer had 19 as a team. He had one less rebound than the entire team there in that game. And then Gordon from Arizona, who I likened him to a less talented Blake Griffin at this point in his life. He just dunks it a lot, and that's basically what he does. But he's very, very talented. And then Florida's got some other guys. UCLA is loaded. with NBA talent. So a lot of stuff.
UCLA's got 4 highly touted guys. They have 3 potential first-round draft picks this year. With Levine, who's some people compare him to a young Russell Westbrook. Obviously, Kyle Anderson, a 6'9" guy who can play some point guard-ish. And then Jordan Adams, a flat-out scorer. Let's not forget Tony Parker, who was one of the higher-rated big men coming out in the country during his class. He sort of fell kind of in the background, but he's still out there. UCLA, if Steve Alford can get these guys locked in, they would give Florida some problems. I think they have better players in Florida. They don't play nearly as well together as Florida. I think that'll be the difference. That'll be the advantage. No team in the country plays more with more cohesion than the Florida Gators. I think that'll get them past UCLA, but if it's a talent battle, the Bruins are hard to beat.
Man, I'm looking for a good NCAA tournament Sweet 16 on in. There haven't been, aside from at that top portion of the bracket there with Dayton and Stanford. There haven't been too many surprises, lots of chalk. 1 for Florida, UCLA, 1 for Arizona, San Diego State. I'm about to sneeze.
So you notice, bless you, Mark.
Stinking allergies.
As you're naming those, you look through that Sweet 16 list, there's something interesting about all those teams, or something interesting about what's not there. No mid-majors. Now, Dayton's in the A-10, you can kind of say, but for the most part, no real, true, unknown mid-majors. Usually 1 or 2 sneak in there. For the most part, you've got teams, relatively big-name schools in the Sweet 16. Normally, you see a mid-major get in there. Not quite the case this year.
No, there's just the traditional powers, Virginia, Michigan State. And like I said the other day, if Michigan State is to lose to Virginia, even though they're a 4 seed and Virginia's the 1, it'd almost be an upset with how everybody is picking Michigan State to go to the Final Four or the national championship or win it all. And Virginia, they hadn't looked that great. They were 78-60 winners over Memphis yesterday, which you said was the easiest game of the weekend to pick.
Yeah, but because Memphis they're a one-dimensional team. You can't just be all we do is run, which is fine. But even I don't care if you're Arkansas back in the day, if you're Patino's teams, if you're Shaka Smart's, I don't care who you are. You have to be able to do something in the half court. Memphis, nothing in the half court. If they can't run, they are absolutely dead. The thing with Virginia, though, and it'll be fun to watch them against Michigan State, is Michigan State, you can tell when they do play together, they are really good, probably the best team in the country, but you're still seeing a few fractures of them not quite being on the same page. And against a team like Virginia, where each possession is so valuable because there are so few possessions, if you get a little bit sloppy the way Michigan State can for a few stretches, that can be costly against a team like Virginia. So that'll be something to watch for.
I didn't realize, and I haven't paid a whole lot of attention to Virginia to know this, but they were on a little bit of a different defensive thing that people don't do, just something that was made up by Bennett's dad, apparently. Yeah. That it's just like a amoeba defense, and I kind of like it.
Yeah,
it's not. It has its own rules. It's not like a zone that you're used to. It's not like a man that you're used to. It's kind of helping recover, make them take the hardest shot possible,
right.
And I like it.
Yeah, it's tough to get ready for. Now, fortunately, Tom Izzo, he'll have a few extra days to get ready for it. But you look at nobody has a bigger playbook than Tom Izzo, like literally. He has about 300 sets he puts in during camp, and they run a lot of them just about every possession. So he'll have some stuff ready. But again, you're facing a Virginia team they throw that amoeba, like you said. They believe in that pack line defense. They do not give up layups. You must make jump shots. So I'm looking at Keith Applin. I'm looking at Gary Harris. Looking at some guys who are going to need to make some shots to loosen things up.
Yeah, they're going to have to hit some big ones. Looking down here at the bracket, Dougie McBuckets, his team goes bye-bye there to Baylor. We both saw that one coming sort of from a mile away. Just the fact that Baylor was a much more athletic team. They're going to be able to put somebody on him and lock him down. And then what else did Creighton have? We both picked Baylor to win and go past that game.
I think that's an interesting point to me because McDermott's NBA stock is what's being talked about. What is he in the NBA? Can he be an NBA contributor? We'll see. As the time goes on. But Baylor was Baylor. We know what Scott Drew does. He plays that 2-3 zone. What was cool about what they did? Did you see the game?
Which game?
Baylor Creighton.
Oh no, I didn't get to watch most of it.
It was really cool what they did. I mean, and it's really how you play Creighton. Baylor played their zone like they always do, but they just stayed home, which means the mid-range open was wide open, and Creighton wouldn't shoot it. They would catch the ball wide open in the mid-range, and they would never shoot it. It was the weirdest thing you'll ever see. I was tweeting. I was like, Daddy McDermott, put little Dougie up there in the high post. I mean, he'll take that shot. They had some lumbering center, and obviously he wasn't going to take the shot, but they never flashed him in there very often, and Creighton would penetrate, nobody to kick to, scared to shoot the mid-range. It was a weird game, but the athleticism, Mark, was a huge factor.
It definitely was. All right, let's hit a break real quick. We got to come back and hit some wire topics. There's other stuff going on in the world of sports aside from the NCAA tournament. Not much else that matters, but Thursday and Friday will begin another great weekend in basketball. I've mentioned before, and we talked about this last week, Thursday and Friday, the first weekend of the NCAA tournament, 16 games a day, the best 2 days in sports. And really, you can go back all the way through the weekend. 16 games on those 2 days, 8 games on the next 2 days. And there'll be 4 games apiece all the way down into the Final Four. But, man, this is the best time in sports. We're going to look at a little bit more outside of the world of NCAA basketball right after this break.
Hi folks, Richard Roberts with Cogs Motors in Russellville. You know, we've been in business since 1949. A dealership doesn't stay in business that long under the same ownership unless you're doing something right, and that's taking care of customers. We have the largest selection of new Ford, Lincoln, Mazda, and pre-owned vehicles in the River Valley. So if you want the most for your trade, the best interest rate on financing, and the best price on a new or pre-owned automobile, come to Russellville and see us. We're at 1900 East Main, or visit us on the web at cogswellmotors.com.
If you didn't count on KARK4 today this morning,
Here's what you missed.
updated news,
Police continue searching for suspects after a home intrusion overnight.
developing stories,
There's another piece of presidential history turning up here in Arkansas.
and weather and traffic on the force.
Friday night, Saturday morning will bring us our next chance of rain.
Every 10 minutes.
Around the clock.
Making your day easier.
So rise and shine and count on.
Count on.
KRK4 today.
RiverValleyLeader.com is the #1 local source for instant news in the River Valley, offering HD video and live streaming along with top-notch coverage of all the news and events around the area. The River Valley Leader is the only place to go for all the information you need. Check out the newest local business featured on the site, as well as police news and coverage from important meetings, along with the personal stories, all at one convenient click. Check out RiverValleyLeader.com.
Today, there are more than 20 brands of cars being sold in America. So to be noticed, Ford and Cogswell Motors have to go further than anyone thought we could. How does Ford stand out above the crowd? Not just with plug-in vehicles like the new 2013 Ford Fusion Energy that gets a projected 100 miles per gallon equivalent, but also with a line of gas vehicles equipped with the innovative EcoBoost engines combining power and efficiency, plus a full measure of technologically advanced features. We invite you to stop into Cogswell Motors today. We go further than anyone thought we could, so that you can go further too.
All right, I told you there was more to life than college basketball. And as we come back into the Sports Blitz on a Monday, Mark Freeman, Maddie Lassiter, he's over there, and Weldon Braxton here in the Cogswell Motors studios. I'm thrown off because I'm looking at ESPN.com's MLB page.
There you go.
You heard it.
I have a bone to pick with baseball, by the way.
You heard it. Look, opening day, just a week away, and
that's the problem.
It's already happened.
It's already happened.
But then the opening day in Australia, nonetheless, and then opening day here on the mainland in 6 days, 7 hours, 27 minutes, and 30 seconds.
Look, people like you and a lot of other people who bash baseball, and it's really hard to defend it when you do things like have a season opener a week before the real season opener. Okay, because you know what's going on right now? There are spring training games going on right now. This is the equivalent of having an opening of football season and then playing some preseason games afterwards and then starting the real season again. I don't know what baseball is doing. I understand, this whole global thing and you want players to play over there and then, rest for a week before they start over here. But it's garbage. It impacts fantasy, and fantasy is important for baseball. Whether people want to admit it or not, baseball needs the attention that fantasy brings. So now I had to rush and draft my team. Also, they could be prepared for 1 or 2 games, whatever many they played over there. I had to rush and get my team ready. Now there's a week for it to sit, and I had to make some adjustments with what I got going on. But I don't like the false openers. You're playing spring training games right now. Like, you've started your season, yet everybody else is still playing preseason games. It makes no sense.
All right, we're going to spend all of about 30 seconds talking baseball. Who you got winning it all?
Oh, man, I hadn't even given it any thought as far as my preseason picks. I like what some teams have done. I like what's going on out in the AL West. Certainly Albert Pujols, if he can bounce back. Mike Trout, one of the better players. Texas with Prince Fielder's gotten a little bit better. Hard to go against the Detroit Tigers. They still have solid pitching. They still have Miguel Cabrera. You have an Ian Kinsler now in the middle of that infield to help things out. So right now I'd probably go with the Detroit Tigers.
I'm going to say something. I don't follow baseball at all.
Matter.
I don't even like baseball. But I'll say something around here that's just going to make me good friends with a lot of you. I'm going to go St. Louis Cardinals to win the World Series. Why?
They're always in the mix, though.
They're always right there, and everybody around here likes them, so I'll endear myself to those people who love baseball.
Maybe I should pick the Twins and endear myself to my community. Then.
You go for it.
The Twins are
Kirby
awful.
Puckett ain't walking through that door.
That team is awful. Oof. And they know it up there, too. They know they're awful.
All right, let's see if there's anything else we need to hit before we move on. Tiger Woods may not play in the Masters. That'd be a shock right there.
You know,
he ain't gonna get jacked.
With Tiger, you don't want to say it's over, but it feels like it's over because
she ain't singing, but the fat lady's in the room. Is that what you're saying?
She's warming up. She's got a glass of water and clearing her throat. Because, look, when Tiger Woods does play, it's not very often. And when he's in the field, he's not very good and he gets hurt. And, they're just moving on without him. I don't think golf will be the same. I don't care what purists say, oh, golf was here before Tiger. It'll be here after. It's our sport. You can say that if you want to. Watch the advertising dollars and how they start to steadily decline. You need Tiger Woods balling. He's not capable of doing that anymore. Tiger, I'll support him, but it looks pretty bad.
You know what? If I'm a professional golfer, what I want is Tiger to be just good enough to win some and compete every time so that the purses don't go down.
Right.
I don't want to walk into a tournament where Tiger had made it a $5 million purse or whatever, up to, let's say it's $1 million purse, and then you walk in 5 years later, it's a $100,000 purse because Tiger's gone, all the interest is gone.
Yeah.
Because, like you said, nobody has ever. Going back years, I'm sure it was great for those folks back then, but I mean, the facts are the facts, and Tiger Woods, nobody has ever moved the needle like him in golf as far as bringing in the money. Now, I know, years ago there were several great golfers. You had the Nicklases and the Palmers and all those other couples and all those other ones that were great back then, and they made X amount of dollars, but everything was just moved into a different level when Tiger Woods started winning, and it's a lot of folks are fearing that he's done.
You're absolutely right about that. Look, there will be other talented golfers. I mean, Rory, there's some youngsters right now. Nobody's arguing the fact that you're never going to see talented golfers again. Yes, you will. But will they be transcendent superstars? Will you have somebody who can bridge the gap and make golf as palatable as football or basketball? Because that's what Tiger did.
Have their own Gatorade?
Yeah, own Gatorade. Look, no, it's not about, somebody else will win a lot and there'll be another Hall of Famer come along. Yes, there are great young players right now, but they are not moving the needle the way Tiger Woods moved the needle. It's a whole different thing. He made golf cool. Not golf is a fun sport, but he actually made golf cool. The fist pumps, his alliance with Nike and Michael Jordan and all that, he made golf cool.
I mean, he made the golf shirt, like this one.
Yeah.
This is cool now.
That's
like
cool.
the light thin material, the look and the sleek feel. He made fitness in golf cool. You see all these dudes that are jacked now are guys that are working to get bigger and stronger, and of course his body's betrayed him at this point in his life, but maybe that's because he put on too much muscle and he's trying to swing that golf club.
That's true.
Who knows? But Tiger did do a whole lot for golf, and it would be a shame if he got to end with that one last hurrah. And I assume he'll probably make his way to the Masters, because if he's going to have one major that he is best in, it's got to be at Augusta in the Masters.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, they've made some changes to that course, but I think it's the Masters. You look at the U.S. Open courses now, they're going to places where the rough is less forgiving for wayward tee shots, and they're not as rewarding for long hitters. So his length isn't as huge of an advantage as it used to be. It's more about being able to plot around with accuracy, and that hasn't been his strength lately.
Seeing here on ESPN that Tampa Bay Buccaneers wide receiver Mike Williams was stabbed by his brother. God, what an offseason. You get stabbed by your own brother. Imagine what you have to say to get stabbed by your own brother. No, I won't give you that money. Stab.
Usually, when it's money or something, or usually somebody was messing with somebody they didn't have any business,
We don't know.
Hey.
We're not in Tampa. Did you see what Mark Cuban said? He said that the NFL is greedy and they're going to lose fans, and something about how in the next 10 years they're not going to, they're going to lose all their popularity. The he said, and ESPN, Tim McMahon says, with TV deal, NFL is hoggy. I don't even know what that means, but I guess they're trying to capitalize strike while the iron's hot. He says he thinks the NFL is 10 years away from an implosion. I think he's full of crap, and I think he's really self-serving is what he's doing. This is his quote. He said, "I'm just telling you, pigs get fat, hogs get slaughtered, and they're getting hoggy. Just watch. Pigs get fat, hogs get slaughtered. When you try to take it too far, people turn the other way."
Well, see, that's what I would ask him. What is the NFL doing that is too far? What does the NFL need to sustain? Because we've seen products sustain themselves for long lengths of time. So I'd be curious to ask Mr. Cuban, what is the NFL doing that is greedy, that is fattening themselves up? What are they doing to set themselves up for failure? I get the model of what he's saying of anytime you just consume and try to do big, and you're not aware of certain things. Yes, you can collapse, but I want to know from Mr. Cuban, what are those things the NFL are doing to set themselves up for failure?
They're trying to take over every night of TV. It's all football. At some point, the people get sick of it. That's what he's saying. He said, "I'm just telling you," this is Mark Cuban speaking, "I'm just telling you, when you've got a good thing and you get greedy, it always turns on you." That's the number one rule of business. Look, Mark Cuban's a billionaire. He's not stupid. He's an NBA owner. He doesn't want the NFL to be the king. He understands. But I do think that there's a kernel of truth in what he's saying.
Right.
If you do play football every night, people don't like Thursday night football because people will watch it, but the NFL and everybody involved with the NFL hates it. You lose so much preparation time. You lose so much recovery time. You put a crappy product out on the field. You end up with some terrible games. Even if you put good teams out there, 9 out of 10 times the games are horrible.
Broncos, Chargers.
Seriously, you put two good teams out there that can play, and the game just looks like crap because the teams haven't had time to prepare. They're out of their usual routine and rhythm, and these professional athletes are creatures of habit. So I understand where he's going with that. And if the NFL was every day of the week, I do think they would lose a lot of their steam, and people would just be like, well, it's an NFL game, I won't watch it. But the NFL, as far as ratings go, is just king. Sunday night football, Monday night football, they win. The ratings wars on those nights. But part of this, I believe, is just Mark Cuban trying to stick it to the NFL as an NBA owner.
Oh, yeah, that's ultimately what he's doing. And see, that's why I was wondering what were his reasons for saying what he said.
It's just about TV.
And you listed it out. And that's why I don't want the playoffs to expand, because there is some truth in oversaturation of the market. You can't be so arrogant to think people want you 24/7. You do have to leave them wanting something. Which is why I think you can help that by not expanding the playoffs, but it looks like that's something that ultimately will get done in the next couple of years. But I think that's something that could be avoided, needs to be.
All right, we've got to look at the Arkansas Razorbacks and Cal tonight. 10 o'clock tip. So like Weldon said, you can plan your naps or your late night watching accordingly. I don't think I'm going to be able to watch most of it because I'm just not going to stay up that late. I may stay up till 11 o'clock. I'm going to go Tony Kornheiser here and go to sleep at halftime, DVR the game, because I don't want anything to do with staying up that late. But we're going to preview that game tonight, and we'll ask the question. We'll debate a little bit about whether the SEC's success in the NCAA tournament is going to give us hope for Arkansas next year. Maybe it gives us hope tonight against Cal. Who knows? We'll see about that, and we'll break down the game here in just a moment.
Hi folks, Richard Roberts with Cogswell Motors in Russellville. We've been in business since 1949. A dealership doesn't stay in business that long under the same ownership unless you're doing something right, and that's taking care of customers. We have the largest selection of new Ford, Lincoln, Mazda, and pre-owned vehicles in the River Valley. So if you want the most for your trade, the best interest rate on financing, and the best price on a new or pre-owned automobile, come to Russellville and see us. We're at 1900 East Main, or visit us on the web at cogswellmotors.com.
If you didn't count on KARK4 today this morning,
Here's what you missed.
updated news,
Police continue searching for suspects after a home intrusion overnight.
developing stories,
There's another piece of presidential history turning up here in Arkansas.
and weather and traffic on the force.
Friday night, Saturday morning will bring us our next chance rain.
Every 10 minutes.
Around the clock.
Making your day easier.
So rise and shine and count on.
Count on.
Count on KRK4 today.
RiverValleyLeader.com is the #1 local source for instant news in the River Valley, offering HD video and live streaming along with top-notch coverage of all the news and events around the area. The River Valley Leader is the only place to go for all the information you need. Check out the newest local business featured on the site, as well as police news and coverage from important meetings, along with the personal stories, all at one convenient click. Check out RiverValleyLeader.com.
Today, there are more than 20 brands of cars being sold in America. So to be noticed, Ford and Cogswell Motors have to go further than anyone thought we could. How does Ford stand out above the crowd? Not just with plug-in vehicles like the new 2013 Ford Fusion Energy that gets a projected 100 miles per gallon equivalent, but also with a line of gas vehicles equipped with the innovative EcoBoost engines combining power and efficiency, plus a full measure of technologically advanced features. We invite you to stop into Cogswell Motors today. We go further than anyone thought we could, so that you can go further too.
If it seems like it's been a month since the Hogs basketball team has played to you, and you're in good company, I feel the same way. I looked up yesterday and I was like, man, how long has it been since the Hogs played the NIT? I guess
6 days.
6 days. I guess they were planning to let the NCAA tournament get out of the way before they came back in, and I guess that was smart. But Hogs are playing Cal tonight, 10 o'clock tip, in California, in Berkeley, which, you know, for the last several years, road games have not worked out too well for the University of Arkansas. 3 games, though, this year that they won on the road. I guess where it was at Vandy. I'm putting myself out there at Mississippi
Kentucky.
State, and then they beat Kentucky at Rupp. So they've had a banner year as far as road wins go for Arkansas over the last decade or so. They get Cal tonight. Higher seed, obviously, number 2 seed. They're out of the Pac-12, 20-13, 10-8 in the conference. A team that, for all intents and purposes, was right on the bubble with Arkansas and had a chance to make the NCAA tournament. Did not do it. I would have picked Cal to win this game fairly comfortably until I found out that their double-double machine, their big man, is out of this game. Changes a lot for me.
Yeah, Richard Solomon out with concussion issues, and he's somebody that really wore on Arkansas. We've talked about Arkansas's issues on the glass for quite some time. Bobby Portis and Moses Kingsley, in trying to get Alandis Harris involved on the glass. That's going to be critical for Arkansas. Because the one reason why they didn't get close to the NCAA tournament, in my opinion, was because they lost to South Carolina, and they lost to South Carolina because they got abused on the glass. So it'll be interesting to see what they do. Also, a Jabari Bird. He's somebody, if you remember back in Maui, he had a number on Arkansas. He put up some good stats against the Hogs. So it'll be interesting to see what they do. Antoine Bell, we know he is feeling himself right through now. And so will he take that to Berkeley, California? I'm just looking at some of the stats from the last game Arkansas played Cal, and you're seeing, Bobby Portis, 5 points, 1 rebound. Guess what? That ain't going to get it.
Moses Kingsley didn't play.
Kai Madden did. He had 10 points. Antoine Bell, he was playing pretty well back then. But the bottom line, oh, Lord, you can tell how much changes in a season. I'm looking at the starting lineup. You started Wade, Scott, and Gully as your 3 in the backcourt. Yeah, that's how much things have changed.
It wasn't senior night?
It feels like senior night. We started a game against the Cal. We could have won that game and been in the NCAA tournament.
Oh, Lord, things have changed for Arkansas. No question about it. Michael Qualls, 21 points. Hey, I didn't call him Bobby Qualls this time.
There you go.
Michael Qualls, 21 points, 5 rebounds to lead Arkansas in that game. They got killed on the boards. That was an issue. They really, though, it was a good game throughout the night. Obviously, it was only like, a 7-point
8-point game.
8-point win for California. So it was a close game, and Moses Kingsley played 0 minutes. You had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 guys get minutes, and every one of them was in double digits minutes-wise. And Moses Kingsley wasn't one of them.
I can tell you what.
That's going to change.
Somebody played 13 minutes in that game. If you got the box score, you can
Jacory!
see. Yeah, that 13 needs to go down by 13 minutes.
This is the problem. Cody Clark, look at how much is going to change from the last game to this game. So I hope you're not looking at this game thinking this is how tonight's going to go, because it's not. Cody Clark, 11 minutes. he's going to start in this game. There's just no question about it. He's going to play a lot. Mardrakus Wade played 27 minutes. He'll be lucky to get 15 tonight. Ricky Scott played 10. He'll be lucky to get 5 tonight. Ja'Cory Williams played 13. He's going to be lucky to see the floor tonight. Alandis Harris, 23. He'll be at about 15. Kai Madden at 19. He'll be at about 25. Anthlon Bell at 26. If he's shooting like he had been, he'll be right about there. Kiko, 10. He'll see less than that. Michael Qualls will probably see a little less than that. Bobby Portis, 28. He'll be about right there. But he only had 5 points and 1 rebound in that game. Moses Kingsley's going to get double-digit minutes, so you're going to have some offensive or there's some rebounding help there. Arkansas got out-rebounded by 16 last time. Let's see what this Solomon dude had 11 and 7 against Arkansas last time. They got beat down by David. Was it Kravis or Kravish? 19 points and 15 rebounds for Cal. So Arkansas has got to help out on the boards there. I think Moses Kingsley is going to do a good job of that, and Arkansas is going to have a chance to change things. It's not going to be anything like what it was the first game.
No, I don't think so. For one thing, I don't think Cal wants to play at that pace. You look at Maui, that thing got up and down pretty good. I think Cal at home, out west, they're going to want to try to slow things down. My biggest concern with Cal, aside from the rebounding, is Justin Cobbs. Justin Cobbs is a guy who, you want to talk about what a pure point looks like, what a true point looks like, watch him tonight. You want to know what we've been crying for here in Arkansas for years, a Justin Cobbs type player. Is he special? Is he 6'5"? Is he a lottery pick? No, but he knows how to run a basketball team. I'm looking forward to watching him tonight just to see good point guard play. You want to talk about Anton Beard and the kid we got coming in from Seminole College in Oklahoma. That's what I want them to play, like Justin Cobbs. If you haven't seen him, you watch him tonight. He's not going to blow you away with NBA talent. He's just steady.
I'm going to be honest. I expect Arkansas to lose tonight on the road at California. The reason I say that is because I want to tell you what I think it's going to take for Arkansas to win after I tell you what I expect is going to happen. I'm one of those, please take this with a grain of salt, because a lot of times I'll tell you and expect one thing and be rooting for the other. That way I'm kind of in the middle. I'll be happy either way. Yeah, I was right, or I was pleasantly surprised with the alternative that happened. I expect Arkansas to lose this game for so many different reasons. One, the rebounding disadvantage, the fact that they're on the road, the fact that it's a week after a game when they shot hot. At least one of them shot hot. And across the country against a pretty good team, I'll be pleasantly surprised if Arkansas is able to rebound well enough and shoot well enough and play with the style that Arkansas likes to, get up and down, guard you, full court, force turnovers, and all that on the road at Cal. I know that Cal's probably going to have about 2,000 people in the house, so it's not going to be this overwhelming disadvantage as far as home court for Cal, but Arkansas feeds off the energy of the crowd, especially at Bud Walton, and they play well in that type of atmosphere. You got 2,000 people in a little bandbox there in California, and I know it's not a bandbox. It's going to be a nice facility, but you're playing in front of nobody at 10 o'clock at night. That'll be 8 o'clock out there, I guess. But Arkansas, man, just so many different things working against them. I'll be very surprised if they're able to come out and play well enough to win this game. I'm not saying that they're not a better team, because really, man for man, I might take Arkansas squad over California. But I know the effort travels and defensive intensity travels, but I'll be surprised if Arkansas is able to pull it out.
Yeah, unfortunately, basketball IQ travels too.
That's true.
We wish that wouldn't travel with this team. But, yeah, I'm in the same boat. I expect Arkansas to lose. But I was thinking about this yesterday. It's just weird that Arkansas is still playing basketball. Like, if Arkansas is playing basketball right now, we need to be excited about, going to the Elite Eight, that possibility. It needs to be some jacked up excitement. But they're still playing, but nobody's really excited. And this is what you get when you're in the NIT. And Arkansas hadn't been in this tournament since 1997. So obviously, that's some years back, and we're not used to this. The Hogs are still playing basketball. Look, Duke's sitting at home. Kansas is sitting at home. Arkansas is still playing. And that's just weird to me this time of year to see Arkansas playing when they're not like a great team, but they're still playing basketball. And I think some fans at home are kind of, they'll be more into it than the Indiana State game because Arkansas has won a game. But I still think it's a strange feeling watching them play this time of year.
Do you know Arkansas more than doubled the next highest attendance in the other NIT games?
Wow.
They were the best, 7,000 fans, which is only, It's only a third of what can fit in Bud Walton Arena, and it was still the highest attended NIT game in the first round because Arkansas fans, man, just hats off to the basketball fans at Arkansas. They care enough to show up on a Tuesday night to watch the Hogs play in the NIT, and nobody else really did. So if I'm not mistaken, Arkansas can come back to Bud Walton for one more game, or do they go straight to New York after this one?
Yeah, I think if SMU loses, whoever SMU has next, if they lose that game, Arkansas should. I think Arkansas would host.
Okay, so if SMU wins, then Arkansas would go to SMU. Yeah, okay, that's right. And I guess the reason I thought that is because SMU. I was watching it in my mind, and SMU was trailing, and they came back to win that game, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
So I was thinking Arkansas might have had a shot there for a minute to host, and that's probably where I went wrong. But so Arkansas more than likely done at Bud Walton, even if they do win this game. But there's still hope that Arkansas can continue its season, carry on through the NIT, make it to New York. That'd be fun, man. That'd be awesome to play in Madison Square Garden if you're an Arkansas Razorback. I know that these guys are just competitive. They want to win. They don't want to end their season, end their careers in a lot of ways, or for a lot of those guys, so they'll play for one another. But let's just put it this way. We'll all be pleasantly surprised if Arkansas is able to win the game tonight because obviously, talent-wise, they're not going to be outmanned. But there's so many times when I watch them and I shake my head like, what in the world was that? What were you doing? What were you thinking? And like you said, basketball IQ sometimes just surprised me tonight, Hogs. Just surprised me. That's all I can say.
It surprised me too. Mark, I want to get to your question. You had a really good question about the SEC and how they're doing in tournament play.
Yep, I came up with it myself. Maddie didn't help at all.
That's right. Yeah, but I want to go ahead and look at that because the SEC, obviously, they're showing themselves well in the NCAA tournament. 3 teams in the field, 3 teams in the Sweet 16. You can't have a better percentage than that, as Jeff Long tweeted us, so we all got to watch his breakdown of the conferences. But, for Arkansas next year, how does this make you feel about the Razorbacks' chances next year? I'm having a hard time tying the two together, to tell you the truth. I think it's good that the SEC is looking better than what people thought, but in the end, I think teams advance in tournaments, not conferences. I got to give the credit to Tennessee, to Kentucky, and to Florida. But it is good to see this league not look as bad as people thought it was. So from that standpoint, but Arkansas is still going to come down to what they do next year. And as far as the SEC is concerned, the only reason the league got the bad rep is because they didn't really do anything outside their conference in preseason. I think if they did more in that background, they would have been viewed upon better. But they struggled. Now they're looking good. So that's what I feel. I don't know if it really helps the Hogs, but it's good to see the SEC.
My answer to this question is you said that, teams win games. I think matchups win games, and a lot of times and a lot of chances. Tennessee, they get UMass. They got Iowa in the play-in. They beat Iowa. We both said the winner of that game's beating UMass, and they did. So we had Tennessee because of the matchup that they got. If they were a different seed, who knows? They get Mercer in the second round because Mercer beats Duke. In that matchup, Tennessee had Jarnell Stokes nearly out-rebound all of Mercer by himself. That matchup was a great matchup for Tennessee. Kentucky, they were the 8th seed, and they got Wichita State in the second round after they beat Kansas State. They had a good matchup against Kansas State. They beat them. They beat the number 1 seed in Wichita State, and as much credit as I wanted to give Wichita State for a great season, they were a good matchup for Kentucky. We all had Kentucky beating Wichita State, but let's say Kentucky was a 5 seed over there with Michigan State, and Michigan State, and they had beaten Harvard. Let's say Kentucky had beaten Harvard, and they've got Michigan State in the second round. Who do you think wins that game?
Yeah.
I don't think Kentucky matches up as well as a 8 against a 1. I'm saying if they were the 5 in the same bracket as Michigan State, if they were Cincinnati, and they'd switch places. They'd play Harvard in the first round, Michigan State in the second round. They play a 4 seed in the second round that we think is better than the 1 seed in Wichita State. It's about the matchup.
Yeah.
Florida, they play Albany. They're going to win that game. They play Pittsburgh. We picked them to win that game. Now they'll play UCLA. It's all about the matchups that they've been given. Right now, Kentucky's playing Louisville. They match up very well against Louisville. If they win that game, not a whole lot of people would be surprised, although we picked Louisville to go to the national championship game. Kentucky just matches up pretty well against them. Tennessee against Michigan. I'm not going to be just shocked if Tennessee won that game. In Florida, we picked to win the national championship.
No.
So I think it's all about matchups.
I do too. That's what I'm saying. Matchups, and like you said, it's more about those individual teams advancing more so than the conference. I gotta say, the SEC to me looks good right now because the rest of the country was overrated. The Big 12, I mean, really, how can you not say the Big 12 was overrated? Both Kansas teams go home the first weekend. Not Baylor, but losing my hand here, but Nebraska goes home. Nebraska the Big Ten, but I mean you got a lot of overrated teams in the Big 12. I mean Kansas State, Oklahoma. That's what I was saying. Oklahoma schools, they both go home the first weekend. Overrated conference. The Big East, really, Creighton, Providence, Villanova was a 2 seed. They're at home. Overrated as far as I'm concerned. The ACC, Duke, North Carolina, they're home the first weekend. A lot of overrated teams around the country. So I think the SEC was better than what people thought. I think the rest of the country was worse than people thought.
Yeah, then that's probably fair to say. So to the point of this question, does this success give you hope for Arkansas next year? There are some things that give me hope for next year. They're Anton Beard. There are the fact that Bobby Almost did it. Bobby Portis will be a year older. Moses Kingsley will be a year older. Kai Madden will be able to move off the ball. You'll have just so much difference. Another year in the system. That's the stuff that gives me hope for next year because at the end of the day, it is about matchups. I think Arkansas' style of play is a bad matchup for a lot of teams. I think that Arkansas is going to be right there on the cusp of the NCAA tournament, if not in next year. Yeah. So when they better be in next year for Mike Anderson's career at the University of Arkansas. But I think those things speak well for the SEC, and I think these matchups that the SEC's just had so far in the NCAA tournament, they help the SEC as far as just its overall view, but I don't know that it's doing any good for Arkansas next year.
Yeah, I agree with you, Mark. As we close up shop here, do want to give a shout-out to the Razorback baseball team. Tough start to the series against Alabama, 19-17 loss, but they come back and win 2 low-scoring games to take the series. Trey Killian in Game 2, he goes the distance and shuts it down. Mark, it looks like the pitching, although it's somewhat young and unproven, looks like it's going to be in place. But once again, that offense.
Put the bat on the ball. It's all about the stink. I'll tell you what it is. It's the change in the bats, man. They did it. They screwed Arkansas all up. Yeah. Had to start moving into the pitching. Haven't been able to get back in. To getting the players on campus that can swing the thing, and I think they need to fix the bats. I'd much prefer a fun college baseball game. I remember a couple of years ago it was kind of crazy, but Arkansas played Kentucky and in that series, and it was like first game it was just like home run, grand slam, home run. It was so much fun to watch. Even a guy like me who doesn't care at all about baseball enjoyed that series against Kentucky, so I'd rather see that than this 1-0 pitchers duel stuff, and guys just swinging from their shoes to get to the morning track. I don't know.
It was more fun to watch back then too. I think one weird stat about Arkansas this year is in their 2 SEC series, the team who scored the fewest number of runs for the series won the series. Arkansas outscored Florida last weekend, lost the series. Alabama outscores Arkansas this weekend, yet the Hogs win the series. So.
Arkansas wins to move to 13-8, 3-3 in the SEC, and they're right there. They're going to grind. They're going to fight and scrap and claw. And as we mentioned early on, Dave Van Horn's got a squad that's kind of like him. I always like it when teams take the personality of their coach or manager and they sort of rally around that guy. I like to see the way that transpires. We'll see if the Hogs are able to. Who got canned not too long ago, by the way. South Florida had enough of that mediocrity.
How about Buzz Williams,
basketball. Yeah, true that. And he's wearing his lapel
he
right
got
there on
quick,
ESPN. But Bruce Pearl was still, until yesterday, he was still employed by ESPN, so he was going back and doing shows and whatnot. Now he's going to be off to Auburn. So, all right, we'll be back on Wednesday. We'll break down hopefully an Arkansas Razorback basketball win, a little bit NCAA tournament stuff, and whatever else comes our way between now and then. We appreciate you joining us today. For Weldon and Maddie, I'm Mark saying so long. We'll see you at 11 o'clock on Wednesday, rivervalleyleader.com with more Sports Blitz.